Hello gamers, this is Eric from Olive Hill Studios, and we are back with part 2 of our GameDevTV Game Jam 2024 Highlights video series. If you didn't watch the previous episode, myself and my brothers Andrew and Brian, we participated in our first Game Jam, which was this GameDevTV one, earlier last month. We had a ton of fun, absolute blast, couldn't recommend enough getting a chance to do these kind of events. But getting a chance to interact with a community of game developers and play their games, give some feedback, receive feedback, and just interact with the community of game developers. So in that spirit, we wanted to highlight some of the game submissions that we were particularly struck with and kind of just give a shout out and some positive coverage to some of these fantastic games that people made. So the first one that I wanted to highlight was called Engulfed by Flavado Game, Eugenia, and Spirit Beard. So this game is part cooking game, part tower defense. The theme for the Game Jam was Last Stand. So the way this team interpret that is they had the last food stand on a beach. And why are you the last food stand? Well, it's because seagulls, yes, that's right, seagulls are attacking all the food stands, taking the food ingredients, and driving people out of business. So this is not a game to play if you're afraid of Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. So it's a very unique way that you battle these seagulls. What you do is you actually create recipes and feed your customers. And your customers, when you feed them different foods, you'll give them buffs like enhanced speed, increased seagull KO power, or they'll stay around to kick seagull butt for a longer time. And the customers do the fighting for you. So you've got to keep them happy with the food. You're the cook at the stand making the food, and if you keep your customers fed and happy, they'll fight off the seagulls for you. So yeah, hilarious concept, and humor is one of the things that is chock full throughout the game. It's a lot of fun. So there was 2 phases. The first phase is the cooking phase. So that's where your customers come up to your stand. They have different foods that they want, and then you prepare different ingredients, chop, prep, and feed your customers their delicious food. And in response for that, they will go and fight the seagulls. And like I said, different recipes give the customers different fighting buffs. And then once you've fended off this wave of seagulls, then it moves to the shopping phase. And the way the shopping phase works is you get money from the customers as you feed them, and so then you can use that money to buy ingredients. You can also buy new recipes, which is always fun, and also different cooking equipment like a frying pan, a stew pot. The recipe system is really fantastic. It's easy to understand, but there's a lot of depth to it, and so that kind of leans to one of the things we really thought about this game was just the mechanics. They're easy to pick up, but there's a lot of depth as you can get into playing the game further and further and discovering different combinations of recipes and such. Yeah, the mechanics are really fun. Any fans of cooking games should definitely give this a try. And one of the other big things is the humor. Like I said, when the customer KOs the seagull just kind of splats across the screen. It's really funny. I mean, that sounds like maybe a bit graphic, but it's not. It's really well done and hilarious. The names of the recipes, like Suspicious Stew, and just the dialogue with the characters. So yeah, just really well done with the humor. And then finally, music is fantastic. It's kind of like this retro 80s chill soundtrack, and sound effects are extremely well done as well. So it all kind of just pulls together the aesthetic and a really like cozy retro vibe, and it works really well for this type of game. The second game we wanted to highlight was Spoonie Boy's Last Crusade, and this is by Bear Shaman. So this is an action platformer where you control Spoonie Boy, which I believe is a raccoon or a squirrel. I'm still not entirely sure, but he's a cute little guy or girl, and you wield a spoon. And what you do is you try to fend off enemies in something that's like a classic Sega Genesis platformer. And so you have these special mechanics to help you fight off your enemies. So, Bear Shaman, he developed this by himself just as an individual developer, and it's really impressive what he was able to do. Some of the things that really stood out to us were just again, the mechanics. So, you have the classic Mario platformers where you jump around, and part of that is having this really this jump that feels very good in terms of the physics of it all and how it interacts with gravity and all that while jumping. But in this case, he decided to take an interesting approach with the jump. So when you jump, you actually like freeze the game and the enemies below you, and so you can line up certain downward bonks, I think is that he called them. So it's really fun getting a chance to hop around the screen, lining up your enemies, and then just knocking them on the head and KOing them. There's also the dash mechanic, which is very responsive, similar to like a Mega Man X type dash. And so it just was a lot of fun to jump around the level and eliminate the enemies using these mechanics. I think, and Bear Shaman even pointed this out in his description, he was inspired by a lot of Sega Genesis games. I felt like he was really effective in conveying that inspiration in the Game Jam game that he submitted. And he did want to shout out that the sprites were done by an artist named Anismuz, and so he has a link to their page in his Game Jam submission, so that if you're someone that's working on a game and you like the 16-bit inspired pixel style, you might want to give that a shot and see. He's got some really amazing stuff that they've made. So yeah, all right, I think that rounds out for Spoony Boy's Last Crusade and Engulfed. We'll go ahead and put the links to both those games. They're both available for free on itch. We'll put those in the description below. Encourage you guys to check it out, and thanks again for watching. Take care.